Most practice owners struggle when it comes to marketing themselves or their business. I mean, it's not something they really teach you when you're getting your degree. And it can feel uncomfortable trying to focus on sales and bringing clients in. It can feel almost counterintuitive or selfish or self serving. Well, it's super important that we put ourselves out there in a way that can draw people in, that can get people the help that they need. And we want to make sure we're doing it in the right ways. Today, I invited my friend Ross Herosian, the owner of Tricycle Creative, to come in and talk to us about ways to market yourself and your practice so that you can draw in more people and the right kinds of people. My name is Craig, and I'm the CEO of Daisy Financial Coaching. Our goal is simple: to help you run a therapy practice that is permanently profitable. If you own a solo or group practice, we're here to help you build a business that creates more time, makes more money, and serves more people. This is the Therapy Business Podcast. Ross Herosian, thank you so much for joining on the pod. How are you doing?
I'm excited. This is exciting for me
Excited, huh?
as someone who works with you.
You don't even
That
know that you're going to get the third degree today. I wouldn't get too
this
excited.
is
This is a
no,
gotcha
you
piece.
are.
This is a gotcha piece.
This is this podcast existing is proof positive to everyone out there that if you guilt someone enough, that perhaps something can be done. Now, I don't know if that's the best marketing message to put out there, but
Especially
just
for therapists,
know,
just guilt them into hiring you is.
you're probably right. Probably not the way to start with the therapists out there, but it is true. It took me about a year and a half. This is always on your radar, and I'm very happy that this is a thing. And I'm also
Yes.
honored to be a part of it.
Well, awesome. I'm glad you've been pushing me for a couple of years now to start a podcast. So here we are, to our tens of listeners out there, coming into your phones and earbuds. Ross, tell them, I know who you are, but give us just a little couple of minute snapshot into who you are, what you do, about your business, Tricycle Creative, everything.
That'd be a strange choice to have me on if you didn't know who I was. A
Yeah,
very,
who
very
are how did you
risky
end up
move.
on this?
Yeah, so my name is Ross Herosian. I am the founder of Tricycle Creative. And what I do is I'm a marketing coach for usually what I call solopreneurs. So those people who have started their business are, sometimes and oftentimes doing everything in the business. And marketing is one of those things that more often than not, these people struggle with. And what I do is quite simply, and why I call my company Tricycle Creative, is really come in and create the training wheels. So help to grow my clients' knowledge, expertise, know-how. I know people out there may be saying, well, I'm never going to be a marketing expert. And I don't come in with that expectation. But marketing is a pivotal aspect of any business. And having an understanding of that is really important. And in many cases, what I do is work with a lot of what I call junior marketers. So these are businesses and companies that have more often than not hired someone fresh out of college because they're creative. I'm using air quotes now, no social media, right? And
Mm-hmm.
let's be honest, they tend to be cheaper. But the problem is those hires can be tricky because if you're not the captain of the marketing ship, you're not really sure how to lead it properly.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the gap that I feel I come in and I train up junior marketers. I expand their skills. I implement strategy from my, at this point, oh my God, decades of experience of marketing. My God, that makes me sound old saying that. And so I help fill expertise gaps for small businesses and solopreneurs.
Love
And I
it.
love doing it.
Good. I think, and the clients we work with in the therapy world are either typically small group practices, in less than 5 million a year in revenue. And we also work with a ton of single therapists who are wanting to become group practice owners, but typically in either of those buckets, the business owners, one running the show with the marketing, they are trying to do all of it. They don't no one teaches you when you go to get your degree and you get licensed. It's no one's like, oh, and here's how you promote and create content and get
Here's
yourself
how
out there on
you
social media.
create a post in WordPress.
Exactly. No one tells you those
What?
things. And so, I think there's a lot of discomfort there. And therapists typically become therapists because they have a passion for the work of therapy. And marketing is just one of those, just like I've loved coaching people. I didn't get into this because I'm like, yeah, I really want to get on sales calls um, and promote myself. So I think it can be a foreign thing. And then even to your point, as they grow and get bigger, I've seen a lot of group practice owners hire out those junior marketers or hire out somebody and put their full faith in them and spend a lot of money on it, and then just are frustrated because they don't understand what's going on. They don't see any fruits from their labor. They feel like they're shelling out money and it's not doing anything. So
There's a huge element in all of that around and I hear this a lot on sales calls and conversations I have, is that you don't know what you don't know when it
mhm,
comes to marketing, right? And that same could be said of me, of therapy, being a therapist, right? Anything that's outside of your kind of realm of knowledge, when you come into it, you're like, I acknowledging even the blind spots. Like, I know I don't know SEO, but there's a whole world of stuff that I don't even know exists. I don't even know what it
mhm.
is, right? And
Yeah.
so that very often is an aspect of the first call, the initial conversations I have with business owners. You know, is more often than not they don't know where to start, and that's always been my really just my guiding principle of starting Tricycle Creative, is providing, because I spoke with enough entrepreneurs over the years where I kept hearing the same thing.
Yeah.
I kept hearing that they didn't know where to start. I kept hearing that, understandably, they didn't have the expertise, they didn't have the knowledge, they didn't have the skill set. I kept hearing the same things over and over again. And I guess, like any good marketer, when you hear that, you create a solution. And so that solution is something that actually you and I did when we started, and that's my marketing clarity program.
Mhm.
And that is like the number one starting place for small businesses, that the dozens and dozens I've worked with over the years, is you don't know, you can't figure out where to spend money, you can't figure out where to spend resources, and most importantly, you can't figure out where to spend your energy if you don't have a plan,
Mhm.
right? I like to tell people, yes, we all know there's only so many hours in the day, but what a lot of people don't realize is there's only so much energy that you have in the day, and oftentimes it is less than the 8 hours of work, right?
Yeah.
I probably have, if I'm being honest, probably about 5 to 5.5 hours of good energy in a day to work. I do. Listen, I'm going to own it.
I'm the
There's like
same.
2 to 3 hours in there where I'm like, I can get stuff done, but sometimes it's a little tough, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that understanding that, particularly with marketing, is going to be something that they're not familiar with. There's a learning curve. You don't know
Mhm.
what to do. I mean, if you're applying those hours to something and you love, it flies by. But
Yeah.
then if you have to apply some of it to time that, like, you're struggling or you don't know what to do, of course you're going to get frustrated. Of course. And so many of my clients come to me after hitting that frustration point where it's like, I tried this, I'm really frustrated. And my thing is, it's just because you didn't start properly.
Yeah.
I mean, this. I have an almost 2-year-old son, and it's kind of like teaching him to ride a bike by literally just putting him on a bicycle and just pushing him. And when he falls over, be like, well, why didn't that work?
Yeah.
What the hell? Like, this is never going to work. And that's what a lot of marketers and small businesses, their approach to marketing is. They try to jump right on, particularly with ads, and it doesn't work. And then they're
Mhm.
like, marketing doesn't work. It's like, well,
Yeah.
don't throw the baby out with the bathwater there. I think the approach didn't work.
Right. Yeah. And and it's to that credit too with ads and things. It takes a lot of money and a lot of patience, and You know, there's, especially for the solo therapists out there, that's not what you have a lot of. And even as therapy owners, you're talking about that energy you have in a day. I mean, even from solo to group practices, most of the time we're seeing them, it's like they're still doing 20 to 25 sessions a week. And so they are
And
meeting with
that's
clients,
where
they're
the
doing
best
notes.
energy should be going, right, Craig?
Mhm.
Like, I get it. Like, it should be going to their clients, right? And
Ultimately, yeah. And the goal is eventually, hopefully, to build your business in a way that you don't have to see clients, and you have a
yes,
team of therapists under you, and they're seeing the clients, and you're able to kind of shift out so you can focus your energy on these bigger picture things. But in the meantime, I mean, and that's what I think we're going to dig into today, is some strategies for people who are, I guess, trying to get out there. And I'm a believer, I know you're a believer because I went through your program, in content marketing, creating content that's valuable, to bridge to the audience. But um, I'm always been a believer in it, just in the sense of creating that relational piece of people getting to know your personality, whether they're reading something you wrote or whether they're watching a video that you're on. They can make that relational connection, which in therapy is so incredibly important when somebody's hiring, to find someone they have that connection with. I found my therapist because he has a podcast, and I listened to him for a few episodes, and I was like, okay, this seems like a guy that I could chat with and
you
feel
got to tell me
comfortable with.
that podcast so then I can listen when he airs your dirty laundry.
Yeah,
Just kidding. I'm just
I
kidding.
do listen to it.
It's funny.
Sometimes I'm like,
And
oh,
you're like,
and he'll go, I have
man.
this client, and I'm like, oh no,
Oh
oh no,
no.
it's not me. Okay, good.
Well, before we jump into the marketing stuff, there is one thing I just want to say.
Yeah,
That just jumping off a point you made about and this is something obviously that is what your business focuses on is helping the therapy businesses grow and scale, right? And
mhm,
and just um, I just want to say for anyone out there listening to this, because you might be on the fence about hiring Craig, proof is in the pudding. Like, I've
understood.
worked with you now for maybe 2 or 3 years, and it's been, I don't even know if I ever said this to you, so I wait for your podcast to air this.
Where's my
It's just been so amazing to see your business grow. Truly. Like, when we started, I think you were that solopreneur.
I was.
And yeah, and your business now has grown tremendously over the years. And you're it's just been amazing to watch. So I really did not want to let this podcast go by without saying to the listeners out there who are, contemplating hiring Craig, at the very least, you need to have a conversation with him, because I can tell you he knows how to do this. I've seen it firsthand, and I've worked with a lot of businesses that have not had nearly the success, but also the discipline and growth that you have. So, with that all being said, someone's
Good night,
cutting onions in
everybody.
here.
That's
Hold on,
it.
it's a
Good night.
little. I'm getting a little teary eyed.
We'll wrap.
Let's jump back into marketing. We were talking about, one thing that I had mentioned to you. We were planning for this podcast is the yes, the content marketing piece, talking all about that, and you had said that was definitely something you wanted to hit on. And I think if you are wondering how to do marketing and what to do, um, one of the simplest ways to put this, but is not the simplest way to do it. But all marketing now is content.
Mhm.
I look at everything as content. I'm a content marketer, right?
Yeah.
Like, this idea that content marketing and marketing exists somehow separately is not the case. Marketing now is content, is creating content. And whether that content is in the form of, and I know we're going to talk about this, but in the form of a video or a blog
Mhm.
or a podcast or even sales materials,
Mhm.
even how you conduct a sales call, right? That's
Yeah.
something that I myself had to hone over the years. When I started my business, I'd never done like sales calls before.
Yeah.
right? I had to hone that. But guess what? That is really an extension of marketing. And one might argue the most intense or most important one because you're talking to someone one to one, right? So putting together proposals, guess what? Marketing.
Yeah.
I mean, everything I look at as marketing because it is saying something about you. And it is putting in the mind of your prospect or your existing customer, um, you know, positioning you in their head. Is this
Yeah.
someone I want to work with? Is this someone I enjoy working with? Is this someone I want to continue to work with? So, as we delve into the conversation today, I just think that's important that, you know, you do think about that marketing really is kind of every piece of your messaging, right?
Yeah, that makes
Um,
sense. And I would think even with your current client base, as you're saying that, I'm like, okay, so even just delivering on your commitments is marketing because you're
yeah,
providing quality therapy to your clients is marketing in the sense of you're going to keep those clients coming back and
it's the
telling
it's
their
the
friends
it's
and
it's the follow up of marketing. It's the fulfillment,
yeah,
right? Like anyone can put claims out there, but but the important aspect of those claims continuing to work and you
mhm,
not being a fraud is that you deliver on those things,
yeah,
right? Otherwise, that marketing is going to run out at some point. It
so
may
true.
land you in jail depending on the severity of it.
I think that, yep, there's a lot of faux pas, a lot of lines you could cross, especially in the
Yeah.
therapy world. Well, tell me about a couple strategies. So when we talked, there was two boxes almost that you put marketing into to simplify it in a way. So what are those two strategies, and tell me about them?
Yeah. So, I think one of the biggest things when I start working with clients is how overwhelming digital marketing is,
Hmm.
right? Again, one of the first things that I do with many first time clients is actually walk them through a course that I call the Digital Marketing Order of Operations. And it is something that I put together for small business owners and solopreneurs that helps them understand really like where to start, right?
Right.
Because if you do them out of order, that is where you may have your failure sooner. Also, I think you kind of mentioned this. Listen, when you first start, you may not have the money to do some of these things.
Hmm.
So and there, I know you know this, but like the way I teach and coach, it's, um, I'm trying to think of the compounding interest,
Yeah.
right? So what that means is like, okay, as your money just continues to grow and grow and grow over like previously learned knowledge. And so I start with the basics. And then before you know it, when we've moved up several levels, you've expanded on that. Right.
Hmm.
And so I think as we kind of talk through all these strategies, the two boxes that I tend to kind of put things into is kind of a push and a pull.
Push.
Um, yeah. And so a push strategy are strategies that put your messaging and content in front of online audiences who may already be aware of you,
Hmm.
right? So this could be if you have an email marketing list, right? And when you first start out, some of those may just be your friends and family, right?
Mine were, yep.
Let's be real. Mine were too. I
My
had
open
colleagues
rate
from
and my
previous
click-through
jobs.
rate was so high, like, everyone was opening my emails. It was, I was like, "What is this industry standard of 10% or whatever it was?" I'm like, "I'm getting 100% open rate. Come
You
on."
get texts from like your parents, like, that was a great email.
Yep. Yep,
Thanks.
every time. I still get
Do you
those.
want to hire me? I don't know what you're talking about. Oh,
It's just
thanks. Thanks for
you're
nothing.
not my target market, mom.
Thanks for
Yeah.
it's true. That's true. I wouldn't work with you anyways. Um, so when we're talking about those push strategies,
Mhm.
again, like that's the email marketing. And also that's the organic social media. So those are people who are already following you
Okay.
on social media. And that's all social media. I think for the sake of this conversation, I'm not going to differentiate too much, but it's, whatever platform that it may be, people who have decided to follow you to get more updates. There's a great book. I hope I'm not wrong on this. I want to say it's Seth Godin. It's called Permission Marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Really great. Seth Godin's a very accessible writer for people who want to learn more about marketing. Very accessible. There's components of his teachings that I bring into a lot of my coaching, but and the idea that if someone kind of makes this decision to gives you permission to message them, that's a big step. And I think people don't acknowledge how big of a deal that is,
Yeah.
right? We take it for granted. Um, but the whole concept there, when you think about it, is like, yes, I've given you permission to show up on my timeline with my friends and family.
So by
Yes, I've
subscribing or following or something, they're saying, yes, I want, like, you have permission to show up in my feed.
Yeah, absolutely. Or show up in my inbox
Mm-hmm.
or put something in my mailbox. If you're, like they're giving you, they not only are giving you the permission, but they're also saying, I'm open and interested in learning more.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So these are people who, again, they're aware of you. And so those are the two, by no means exclusive, but those are the biggest ones: the email marketing, organic social. Especially with organic social, let's be real, that tends to be the first place most small businesses go to.
Yeah.
It's most accessible, right? May not be the most, may not generate the most return on investment, but that's probably a topic for a different day. But it's the most accessible, right? So those are the push strategies. The pull strategies are those that put your messaging and content in front of online audiences who are in need of or could use your services. And they may not even be aware yet that they
Mm.
need or could use your service. I mean, perfect example. How many impulse buys have you made from Instagram even this month, Craig? Probably a lot. I know I have. I'm like, oh, all of a sudden I need this.
I totally last week, very impulse buy, got an Instagram ad for making Instagram like reels and TikTok reels. And
Listen, I'm a sucker for those too. I'm
it
not
was
gonna
only
lie.
like $30 or so. I was like, $30. I was like, all right. And I signed up and I got halfway through it and I was like, dang it.
I'm the biggest sucker for like creative assets stuff also. I really am. So just learn from us if you're listening.
I've made a couple of
Maybe
those.
buy one,
Great.
like
But
buy
yeah.
one and just know if your experience with the one is kind of meh. I don't really know if it's going to be that much better with the other ones you buy. They're
Yeah.
all very similar, you
Yep.
know?
Very. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I bring that up because when we're talking about putting your messaging content in front of online audiences who are in need of your services but don't know who you are, oftentimes that is an ads mechanism, right?
Yeah.
So that's going to be Google ads and social ads. Now, when we look at Google ads, what's the value there? The value of Google ads is that you've at least, the person is seeing your ad because they have, at the very least, if we're doing a search campaign, put in a search term that is in some way relevant to your business, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like they've almost like stepped foot in the door and they're looking around. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Mm-hmm.
Right? They've taken some step, as little as it may be, but they're saying, I'm curious about this, right? So that is an advantage of a search ad, is that you do get an audience that is even if it's one step further down, they're a little bit further down in the classic marketing funnel, right? Going from knowing
Yeah.
nothing about you to buying from you.
Because they're looking for they're looking for therapists if they're searching, and that's why you're showing up. Versus like if you're running an ad for females from the age of 25 to 32, and it's pumping out whether they're looking for therapy or not, you might catch a few who are like, oh yeah, I've been meaning to get a therapist, but some of them may not be. Versus Google, it's like that person is typing in therapists in Texas, and lo and behold, you pop up at
Yes.
one of the top.
It's a very important distinction between Google search. Again, this is gonna be a whole nother show about very specific ad structures, which make note, I'm happy to do that show with you also, Craig. But Google ads at their simplest, when we're talking about search,
Uh-huh.
someone's searched and then that's what generates the ads. On the social side of things,
Mhm.
how they generally function is they take your kind of indirect signals
They steal
to
your
serve
data.
ads.
They send a
So
weather balloon in to take all your data, and then that's
there is a huge, and that's not to say Google is innocent of that either, but
no.
there's a huge component of the way that they generate behind the scenes using their algorithm, who gets served these ads is using their proprietary billions, millions to billions points of data on your um interactions and
Mhm.
activities, not only on their website but across the web, right? So for example, I think you just made a good distinction. So let's stay with the therapy example, because obviously that makes the most sense for the audience here.
Mhm.
On a Google ads front, yes, if I go and search like uh you know therapy practice in uh Austin, Texas, right?
Mhm.
Okay, well, that would if I'm running a campaign for therapy practices and I'm looking at Austin, okay, there's, like in mechanics, a chance my ad would show up. Social ads could operate in the way that uh, maybe they are following online therapy brands
Mm.
like BetterHelp or what have you, right? Maybe they're following one of those. Maybe they, um, you know, uh, they, I mean, it could even go as deep as just kind of maybe posting a whole number of posts that are seemingly sad. The thing is that you can't, we don't know. We know a good amount, right?
Mhm.
But let's say that this person is following a bunch of like inspirational, but also like again, those online therapy um, uh, things. Maybe they've actually done a search, which this is not as common, but a search inside of that platform. So again, let's use Meta. Maybe they've done a search in there, and it's using those signals
Mhm.
to then serve. If you have an ad for like, "Hi, I'm Dr. So and so. I'm a therapist," that kind of thing. It would use those signals along with what targeting information you get it to serve it up to them. So it's more of a predictive work on the social side than with Google Ads, where it is driven by a query.
Yeah, that
Now, when
makes
we
sense.
talk about the push and the pull, and we talk about content, um, blogs and videos can actually exist in both places. You'll notice I under left them out, but because they can be utilized in either strategy, right? So, for example, a push strategy with organic social media, obviously, you could create a video and share it on organic social media.
Mhm.
You could also use that very same video in an ad,
Yeah, that
right?
makes sense.
And the same with a blog, right? You could write a blog and maybe it's, you know, um, whatever your particular area of expertise is on, You could write that blog. You could publish it on your website. So there we are talking a little bit of SEO. So SEO would fall mostly into a pull,
Mm-hmm.
arguably, because it would be someone that's doing a search and you
Because
would come
and
in.
the
So
yeah, the goal is to get in front of people who are not already following you with SEO.
correct.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. Yeah. It's you're looking to serve it up to people who are, yeah, don't know about you, but are interested in something. So the blog could show up there, but you could also include that blog in your email marketing campaign,
Yeah.
right?
Or you have
So
people who just
think
regularly come and read your blog every Friday because they know you're going to post something new. Yep.
absolutely, right? So I think that you want to look at blogs and videos as being, you know, really flexible. And for most of these, particularly nowadays, you're going to need both. You're going to especially need video,
Yeah.
right? Like video is it. Like the days of saying, "Oh, guess what? Video is big." It's like that it's like, yeah, duh. Like a bit,
Especially, I mean,
yes.
just like we were talking about earlier, in such a relationship based
Oh, yeah.
industry as therapy, when somebody's looking for their therapist, and I always go back to that process. I mean, I was looking for a long time simply because I could be filtering through Psychology Today, I could be reading about these people, but it's like it's this overwhelm of I don't know who to go with. And so being
And
able to
wouldn't you
use
say the podcast you listen to also gives you a sense of who that person you're working with
Mhm.
is,
Yes, very
right?
much. Yeah, their personality, their just how they feel, and as far as approachability, areas of expertise. And on a website you can list the areas that you focus on, but there's also just something different about making that connection. What I do as a coach with business owners is very relational, and so creating. There's so many times I'll get on a sales call with a potential client and they've watched our YouTube videos and they see the same background, they see everything, and that connection and that level of trust is already there because even though I've never spoken to them before, they've
You
consumed.
have. But
I
that's the
have.
thing. You
That's true.
have. And I think that's what's really interesting is I've had that situation too, where I've had people who came to me after seeing me or on a video or hearing me in a podcast. And yeah, I mean, I think it's they get a sense for who I am. And
Yeah.
I think also a sense for how I work. And this is one of those things when I work with small businesses, and this might be slightly different for the therapy business owners out there, but maybe not. I'm sure this applies. Is there are some prospective clients that they wanted to hire me, but I turned them away.
Yeah.
And it's a weird thing, you know, when I talk to other small business owners, particularly when they're just starting out, this idea of doing that. But more, I always take the approach that this has to be a right fit for both of us,
Mhm.
particularly as a coach. Now, I am not a therapist, but there's a certain irony to it, I would say, is that in my coaching role, there are absolutely elements of being like a marketing therapist for
Yeah.
people. They're frustrated, they're confused, they're happy, they don't know what to do, they don't know what direction to go, they don't know how to deal with this. And again, far be it by I have all the respect in the world for therapists and the education and work that you've put in. So please don't misunderstand me to say that I
You're gonna
should
get
have a
sued
doctorate.
because you're
I
practicing
should
without
have
a
a
license. So
That's right. Yes, I'm not a licensed therapist, but I got to tell you, I have absolutely come out of meetings and I'm like, that is as close to a therapy session as I've ever been in.
yeah.
Like to like inspire someone and get them motivated. You know, it's it's something that I understand, and I guess I say that to say, um, it if someone has a particular issue, right, and maybe that's not your area of expertise, I think you could probably relate and understand that maybe I'm not going to be doing the best service to this person. right, by taking them on. And I think that's an approach that can also apply, weirdly enough, even in marketing, right? I think when we talk about a lot of people, like, they don't know where to start, and going way back, I'm sure there's a conversation we had when we first started out. Is, well, what do you know how to do? And honestly, is there anything you like doing?
Yeah.
Most people, I'm going to say most, maybe it's just because I'm projecting. Most people don't like writing blogs.
I
Then
used
again,
to. When I started, I was like, I loved writing them. Now they're
really?
more of a chore.
I
Yeah,
can tell
but I
you
mean,
right
I
now,
also didn't have
I hated them. I hate
I
them.
didn't have a ton of
Hated them.
clients. It's like I was looking for things to do to move my business forward, and blogging was just like such an easy. I say easy, but just a
Yeah,
okay, great. Yeah, I can create this and put it out there. But now
correct.
it's a chore.
But no two people are the same.
Yeah.
Some people really enjoy video. Some people enjoy podcasts. Some people enjoy podcasts with a co-host. Some people enjoy podcast solo. Some people like social, right? Are, also really good in the community space. Community marketing is also a really big kind of, it's been growing the last couple of years, of having your own like private communities, that
Hmm.
kind of thing. Um, so everyone's a little different. And I think that's even the approach I take as a marketing coach. Is I don't come in with, rarely, if ever, come in being like, I know exactly what we're going to do here. I
Yeah.
let the process like guide us. And so yeah, I mean, I think the push and pulls, just understanding how these strategies are different, and at least understanding why it's like, oh, I wonder why my audience isn't growing, or I wonder why they're not engaging here, or I wonder why, sometimes it's about evaluating like what things you're doing and the end intent of those things.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I think and this one last thing before we wrap it up, but with the poll strategies, I know we talked a lot about the ads, but I mean, I was just thinking through as you're talking about. I was like, okay, like being a guest on someone's podcast is a poll strategy. You're getting in front of their audience, right? I mean, it's
Totes.
being a speaker at a conference.
Oh yeah,
Even to
absolutely.
even I'm wondering because a lot of therapists are listed on Psychology Today. They pay for that opportunity, even just to be listed there. Um, that's a pull strategy, even though it kind of feels like a one and done. I'll create my profile and I'll pay the monthly fee, but it's putting yourself out there for people who,
You want to hear a weird, you want to hear or a surprising, maybe it's a little weird, I'm not really sure. I'm going to tell you an anecdote. I like listed myself on my alumni page for my
Mhm.
college, right? And I thought literally nothing about it. I
It's like,
did it,
why not?
and
Might as well
I,
because
I
it's
was like,
free. Yeah.
sure, right? And like 2 months later, someone contacted me that they saw my information on there, and that person turned out to be like a massive client for like 6 months, like 6 months to a year. So, you know, that was a low level of effort, right? Again, took me almost next to zero energy, but it did end up yielding a tremendous amount. Now, I'm not saying that every single little thing is going to do that, but you know, sometimes that stuff happens, right?
Mhm.
And I was shocked, that did occur. But you're 100% right. There are absolutely little things, and maybe things you're already doing that you don't even know are attracting uh, people for sure. So
Oh,
I think on that note, one of the number one things that I do recommend people do, and again, as we've been talking, I could probably think about 50 million other podcast ideas to bring to your audience. If you'll have me back, it's hard to say. I'm difficult to work with, but is that creating your Google My Business account.
oh yeah.
It is very low hanging fruit, but it is one of the most potentially valuable, like low level of effort to high potential rate of return things to do. So if you haven't done that, just do a Google search, Google my business, create your account. There are a million different things you can do in digital marketing, but that is one that I feel very strongly about that can yield a
Easy to
lot
do.
of benefits.
Yeah, I'm glad I did mine. Although probably topic for off air or on another episode, but uh, as a virtual person, like I can't get mine, like I can't reply to reviews anymore because you have to have a physical office address, and
Yep.
I don't have an office anymore. I'm completely office from home.
Yeah, it's very surprising that of all companies and services, Google has been kind of the slowest to move that along, but I think they are hesitant because they don't they're very hesitant of their own little gardens or protective of their own little gardens. So they don't want it to be spam fest.
Yeah,
So
and I
that's why
get
they're big
that.
on brick and mortar. Like, oh, we have to they literally mail you a confirmation. But
Mhm.
if you haven't done this yet, when you do it, you'll find out. But I
Or
actually think they have
video.
updated that slightly
Yeah, I
in the
think one of
past.
them is like options I saw is like you can go outside and take a video where you have to, in the same video, you have to show the address number, and then you have to go to a street sign, and then you have to like show the building.
Oh my God. Well, they're gonna
Um,
have to update that probably with AI now, all those
Probably,
deep
but yeah,
fakes.
it's I have my Google My Business. It's still doing awesome. And we're still getting reviews. We're still getting a lot of searchability. So I'm glad I did it. But yeah, I've run into that road bump. I'm like, I can't reply to anything. I can't post on it anymore because, uh, and I know there's a lot of virtual therapists out there who don't and have no intention of having a physical location. And so that's the
Well, definitely a topic for another day because I am sure there are workarounds there. And if you know anything about me, more often than not, when you come to me and you're like, this is not working or broken, I'm like, all right, let me look into this. And usually I figure out some roundabout way of fixing it. So if I
love
have
it.
any skill set, it is figuring out solutions to very, very specific, unique problems.
Oh, all right, Liam Neeson. Well, tell us how people can find you if they have a specific problem that they need solved.
Sure. Well, I hope you'll include just the link to my website in this
Only
show description. That would be a
$500 to
dream.
Yep, it's a monthly fee of
Tricycle.
500. If you just we'll just auto charge you to keep that link live in the
Got it. Got it. I'll wire you the cash. Um,
No, go ahead.
tricycle-creative.com. You can also go to getmarketingclarity.com to learn more about my clarity program. Now, I will say this, I am being incredibly selective with new clients I'm taking on right now because I do work with, I have some full-time commitments that changed in the past couple years here. So I have a handful of clients. I'm very selective. That's not because I'm cool. It's literally because, back to the energy piece, I run out of energy. As a new dad, I'm like asleep on the couch. I mean, sometimes at like 7:30 at night. So like, if I'm doing this, I want to make sure I'm being the best Ross and showing up for you. So, but if you do need help or interested in learning more, please head on over to my website. A lot of resources there on my blog. I also have a podcast called the Marketing Clarity Podcast. So you can check that out. Tons of episodes in the backlog there. And I'm trying to get back into being better about that. And you'll hear this other guy on that show pretty frequently too, unfortunately. So I'm sorry
Yep.
that Craig will be on that show.
I'm the dum-dum on the show. All right, that's 3 links I'll be dropping in the show notes, so I'll invoice you for all 3 of those.
Perfect.
No. Ross, thank you so much for spouting some knowledge. You'll be back, obviously, for sure, regularly as a co-host. Today was, I just wanted to pick your brain on what you know well, but I think sometimes you'll just be here kind of hanging with me and chatting business and marketing and money.
I love it.
Stuff.
I love it. Those are some of my favorite times yes, obviously talking business, but you like I said, I've enjoyed our ride together for sure. So I'm, again, very thankful to be here, and thanks for giving me the opportunity.
Thanks for joining us on the Therapy Business Podcast. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a practice owner that you may know. If your practice needs help getting organized with its finances or just growing your practice, head to therapybusinesspod.com to learn how we can help.